So what's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're brand new here, consider hitting that subscribe button down below, because we're doing some pretty cool stuff here and shooting a lot of videos recently about our cows and our chickens that we just had processed. But today what we're going to be doing is a review of our Joel Salatin style chicken tractors that we built and tell you how they work for us, what changes we'd make, what adaptations we made to his to fit our system here. Now as you can see, it looks similar but a little bit different because we used different materials and we made it a little bit bulkier, which made it a little bit heavier, which we'll talk about in a second. But you can see, instead of a 10 by 12 by 2 that he did, this is the one that I want to show you. We made two, but we've made some mistakes on the other one that I changed on this one. This one right here is an 8 by 8 by 1 3/4 foot tall. Why did we make it that? Why? Because this hardware cloth that we used, again, we used hardware cloth instead of chicken wire because I just really didn't want stuff getting in there. Now, this hardware cloth is 2 feet tall. Now, if you're going to make the chicken tractor 2 feet tall, it gets really iffy when you're trying to screw in or staple in the hardware cloth and you're trying to have to bend it and stuff. So I decided to make it a little bit shorter, and it worked out a lot better. So this hardware cloth that's 2 feet tall goes around like nothing, and we use these sheet metal screws to screw them in because just easier than stapling and then hammering them all in. I feel like it's a little bit more secure, but you can use staples, no problem. Then the second thing we did differently was these right here, pressure treated 2x4s. Joel uses 2x2s and 1x2s for the whole tractor, but again, I wanted to make it a little bit bulkier and a little bit sturdier. And I tried making one that was a 2x2 a long time ago, and it just wasn't holding up right, and I just wanted to go with something that I knew that wasn't gonna break and I knew I couldn't mess up. So we went with the 2x4s. That's why it's only 8 by 8 instead of 10 by 12. So instead of putting 75 chickens in there, we put 50 in each one of them. Now also the siding that we used is different. This is just vinyl plastic siding that we used, that we got at Lowe's, and it worked out really good because Joel used aluminum, but this is even lighter, and I feel like it reflects heat a little bit better because in Texas, the processor that we took them to, and I told him what we're doing them in a Joel Salatin style chicken tractor, said that he doesn't use them. They run a lot of birds there because in Texas he calls those in the summertime easy bake ovens. But we had them out here in 90 plus, high 90 degree temperatures, and no issues at all. You know, they did perfectly. This plastic did really good, super lightweight and pretty easy to work with, a lot easier than the aluminum, or God forbid you use tin, then it would be too heavy. Wow, that would be way too heavy. Don't use tin. Number one rule, don't use tin. Now what we did is we put it on hinges. They worked okay, the screws popped out, but the chickens didn't care, so didn't take the time to fix it. But they had, this is 8 by 8, so that'd be 64 square feet. Fit 50 chickens perfectly. Now, it is heavier because of the 2x4s. Now, this only comes into play when I'm trying to move this back to where I want it out of the field. See, I have to move this all the way up there into one of the sheds that I want to keep it in until next year. But that's about 500 feet. And moving this thing about 500 feet sucks. It's heavy and it's hard to move. But if you're only moving it 8 feet, it's really no problem. It's really pretty easy to move when you're moving it, 8 feet. Tried putting wheels on it. I don't think I used big enough wheels to put on the back, so ended up just dragging it. It's not very hard at all. It's actually pretty lightweight especially in the shorter grass. It's pretty easy. So what would I do differently on here? Now, a couple things. First thing is that in Joel's tractors, he's got a waterer with a 5-gallon bucket on top, and then it hangs. Here we use 5-gallon vacuum seal and we just put it on the ground. The chicks made a mess of it and I was always having to clean it out. No matter how many times I'd clean it out, every time I come back and it was dirty. Why? Because they would just jump on top of it, they'd get inside of it and just, I don't know, they just mess it up. So next year what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to put another 2x4 right here and hang a bell waterer from it and put a 5-gallon bucket on top. So it's a lot easier to, one, move because it takes less time rather than picking up the waterer, moving it, going, putting it back, undoing it, filling it up. Here, all I have to do is, in his system, all I have to do is fill up a 5-gallon bucket. So lot easier. Now, what other changes I would make? I'm gonna figure out a way to move these a lot easier because it's just too heavy to move long distances. Like I said, short distances, 8 feet every day, no problem. But once you're going over 100 feet, it becomes an issue. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm experimenting with some sort of like lift for the back with some wheels, and I'm gonna try and get something to where I can really slide it easier. I know Joel uses a dolly, and he custom made his because I tried using a regular dolly, and that didn't work very well. Why? Because it just kept popping up, popping up, popping up. I'm gonna come up with some sort of contraption that works a little bit better. But overall, we had 50 chickens in each, actually 52, because the hatchery gave us 104. 103 made it to the processor, which I am extremely proud of. We only lost one to weather, and that's just because it was a crazy downpour. I think the chick got wet and just got too cold or something. I don't know. It just happens, you know. Cornish cross meat birds, it just happens. Now, did we lose any to predators? No, we did not, which is very good, which means this thing did its job phenomenally. Now, what I did find is there'd be a few dig marks like right around the base, but nothing got in. Nothing got in at all. Didn't lose one other chick rather than just to the weather. So this thing held up pretty good. Now it looks a little bit different. We did the braces a little bit different, kind of like barnyard, because it was just easier and I think it looked a little bit nicer. But overall, this thing is fantastic. And I will probably, and if we do more next year and we do more than 100 in a batch, I will make another one. So easy. Now, a couple things. You'll see we have wood blocks around the base of them. Now, because these are 2x4s, they're a little bit more sturdy, and especially in the beginning, you can't leave any little hole because the chicks will get out. And that happened on more than one occasion in the first 3 days. So what we did, just get some scrap lumber, you know, this is scrap 2x4, probably from this, and we just place it at the bottoms. Now, what else will I change? Now, the chicken tractor, it faces east because most of our weather either comes from the south, the north, or the west. Now, what I would also do is, now in here, these boards, now the way that I screwed them together was I put the 1 3/4 2x4, screwed it in from the bottom of the piece laying flat. Now, that would screw in to this runner here, which was more on its side. Now, me thinking the ones on its side would slide better, and especially moving it down this way and then back up a couple times, I actually found out that they actually slide better on these. So what I'd do is I'd move this over this way and just kind of flip this, if that makes sense. So have the ones that are on its side be on this side, and the ones that are flat be on the way that, be in the direction that it pulls. And it actually pulls a lot easier that way. Now, with it being 1 3/4 tall, was it hard to catch them? Not really. What I used was, funny enough, 2 hampers, 2 old kind of plastic hampers. They kind of enclosed them on top of each other, so they made like a cage. Went in there with 2 of them, kind of smashed them together like you would like a fish in a fish tank, and was able to catch them pretty easily and pretty quickly. So that worked really well, and it wasn't really an issue with it being kind of short. Just got on my knees, kind of got in there. For the most part, when you use one hamper, when we used one of the hampers, it went, and most of the chicks went over into the corner over here, so it was real easy to swoop them up. Now, one thing I haven't talked about was feeders. Now the feeders that we used was the ground. We didn't use any kind of feeders. Now, would I change that? I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some more research under that. I don't think so, because they didn't leave any feed anywhere. You can see where they've been. And I would go through, come out here in the morning, there is no feed anywhere. Now, if we go to the 24-hour style feeders where they have complete access to feed 24/7, I'm not gonna go dump a bunch of feed and hope that they get it all. I'm gonna probably go to the feeder. So we might use a feeder next year. We might buy one, we might wait, we might buy one, we might make one. But for the most part, there's not very many changes that I would make to this. The other one I didn't put hinges on. I will put hinges on there because in the wind, you know, some days when it's stormy and windy and you pull the thing up, the wind will maybe take that, kind of act like a sail. But for the most part, these things did great. I mean, it was obviously a success, taking 103 out of 104 to butcher. And now we have chicken for the rest of the year, which is fantastic. Pasture raised, non-GMO, no soy, no corn, homegrown chicken. Just, can you ask for anything better? And they taste amazing. Well, we might do a video on that, cooking one of them. And you can see it's a little bit different, and it's just better tasting. I don't know how to really describe it. You don't eat as much either. You're like, it makes you full faster because I think it's more nutrient dense. So your body's not saying keep eating, keep eating, keep eating. So you actually eat a little bit less of it because you get full faster. Here's what it looks like from the backside. This right here is the stuff that we used. You want to research that, just find that at Lowe's anywhere. And they come in 8-foot pieces too. So instead of, you know, putting a bunch of pieces together, making it 12 feet long, we got 8-foot 2x4s with 8 feet pieces of plastic or vinyl, whatever you want to call it. And it just was really easy to build, real simple. If we build any more, I'll probably shoot a video on that next year. Pulling it through this grass here really wasn't any kind of issue either. Ideally, it probably would be a little bit shorter, and you know, they've been gone for about a week and a half now, so it was a little bit shorter. But you can see the damage that they did. I mean, this grass is really growing up nice. The cows that we have, our longhorns, are over there grazing, and when we move them here, because we move them every day as well, they're just going to have a smorgasbord of food and grass and forage to eat, because thanks to the chickens, it's growing back nicer and greener than it was. You can kind of see the line that they made. We kind of made a V, and just good and it's just good all around. No confinement houses. They're being out in nature, get woken up by the sun in the east every morning, and just good chickens. So with that, we're probably gonna cut it right there, but that's my review of the Joel Salatin style chicken tractor that we built just a couple months ago, and it worked fantastically. So if you're gonna build one, check out how I'll leave a link in the description about the build process that I did with this one. You can check that out. Probably again next year we'll probably do a little bit more, so look out for that video. But nothing like pastured chicken. So hit the subscribe button down below, ring the notification bell so you can get alerts when we put up new videos. Hit the like button so the YouTube algorithm kicks in and just helps us. So thank you for doing that. And drop a comment if you like. So we'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Bye.